right, we'll be back from the break and let's get into more of our topic of discussion here. Now, like I said before the break, that we're getting back to look at the opportunities that are into this particular sector, whereby if at all you're someone interested in this particular field, you can pick on from there and get going. I'm still with Juliet Mubi from the National Forestry Authority of Uganda. She is the public relations officer. So Juliet, what are these opportunities that some of the people out there can utilize from the forestry sector?
Thank you. There are many opportunities in the forestry sector, and one of them is employment opportunities. It is estimated that the forestry sector employs over 1 million people in Uganda. You see, the sector has a value chain.
Okay.
It starts with picking seed from a tree, or managing a seed that has been imported in Uganda. Then you, from picking a seed or importing a seed, then you go to nursery management. How do you grow that seed into a seedling? That is the plantable size. So all that involves people. We have what we call climbers who climb up the trees to pick the seeds, and they are paid. Okay. Then there are people who manage the seedlings in the nurseries. They are paid. There is transportation of seedlings from the nursery to the site where you're going to plant. That is all employment involved. Then at the planting level, there are people that are employed to plant the trees, to clear the land, to do the weeding, do other activities. And then by the time, the trees is a long-term investment, by the way. It's not a short-term investment. So by the time you grow trees to the age of 10, there have been people that have been employed throughout that time to take care of those trees and manage them. So there is employment. And then at the level of harvesting or cutting of the tree, there are people involved and they are employed and paid. Then from cutting a tree from the site to the factory is also employment opportunities. So we are employing over 1 million people in Uganda in the forestry sector. There is an opportunity of land, government land, but I should be very clear on this one. It's only when we advertise the availability of land. We normally do a survey in our forestry land. We identify the land that is available for investment. Then we advertise in the daily papers that are known in Uganda that we have this number of hectares available and we need investors to plant. So when you see an advert, you apply. This is free land. You only pay ground rent for the land for the time that you've been given, depending on the trees you're going to plant. That is the gestation and the area where you've been allocated that land. It is free land, but it's only for forestry purposes. If we give you our land, don't think you're going to build apartments. No, it's only for forestry purposes. And this is government land. The land remains government. We only give you a license to do forestry activities. We have commercial forestry where people grow trees for sale.
Okay.
Yes, and we are giving seedlings under this commercial forestry. We are giving technical guidance, whether you're doing it on private land or on the government land that has been allocated to you by NFA. You still get a lot of money in that. Then there is also an opportunity called carbon credit. Okay. Carbon credit is money that is paid for international companies from abroad for the air that the forest in Uganda is producing. So there are already private companies here that are working as brokers to connect the farmers to the international companies. But also as government, we are also engaged now in carbon credit. For you conserve your trees or conserve your forests here, then a foreign company pays you for the air that is being produced by that forest or trees. Okay. So if you have a natural forest on your private land, please conserve and seek for opportunities under carbon credit. All right. So this forest must stay, and then you're paid. Then we also have ecotourism development opportunities. We give concessions in our forest reserve. If you've been to Mabira, you might have seen the zip line. You might have seen the Mabira Eco Forest Lodge. So those are concessions that we give to our investors to tap into and develop sites for tourism purposes. Okay. And they are earning and giving employment to others.
Do they pay any charge to you after that?
It's a concession. They give us really ground rent. It is something very small. Okay. But we want these. There's a lot of tourism potential in these forests. Right. The zip lining, it's the only one in Uganda. The one in Mabira is the only one in this whole country. Okay. So it's an experience. We have nature walks. We have birds. We have small mammals in the forest. We have trees. People from abroad have never seen a big mahogany. So somebody comes to Uganda to see how a mahogany looks like or how a butterfly looks like. So there is a lot of tourism potential in our forest reserves. So we identify those areas that have the potential, advertise, and invite the private sector to invest and give employment and also earn. Okay. We also have forest management. There are many nurseries that are owned privately. These are tree nurseries that are giving employment and also earning people a lot of money. Those are investors. So we also give trainings actually in this nursery management. If you don't have an idea but you have interest in setting up one, we give trainings at NFA. Okay. There is also another industry that is big outside, especially in China, but small in Uganda but growing though. It's the bamboo industry. Bamboo in Uganda is called amabanda. So they are categorized as trees, sometimes they are categorized as shrubs. These are fast growing but also have a lot of products out of them. In China there are clothes made out of bamboo. There are also flasks, there are also these other things. We have tiles made out of bamboo. So in Uganda we've also, in 2019 we developed a development strategy. So we're encouraging people to plant bamboo. We are working with the URI, that is Uganda Industrial Research Institute to set up. So far they have set up 2 factories that are doing toothpicks in Kabale and in Kampala, and all these toothpicks are coming out of bamboo. Right. So if you have land where you can plant bamboo, it's also a very good attractive industry that is coming up in Uganda. So we hope in future we will have many factories that will be producing products out of bamboo. There is the wood industry. You might have seen when you're exiting, most of the exits out of Kampala, that you find there are factories that are doing plywood. So those are opportunities for jobs and also market for our products, because for us we deal in wood a lot. So when we see our factories coming up, then it's a communication that we need to do more of planting of trees. So there's an opportunity also in the wood industry. Those are some of the opportunities. Others are indirect, others are direct. Then we have the craft making. That one is done mostly by the communities adjacent to the forest reserves. They do a lot of craft. If you've been to Masaka Road, Mpiji around Mpiji and Mpambire, you'd see the drums and all these other cultural stuff. Most of them are coming from our forest called Mpanga Forest. So those are opportunities for the neighbors that are neighboring the forest reserves to earn an income, but they don't destroy the forest.
Okay. Yeah. Speaking of, definitely you would say they don't destroy the forest, but I believe they have to pull down trees. So how have you been able to at least monitor that where trees have been, for example, cut down, there is one that is actually being planted again?
At NFA we have what we call collaborative forestry management approach. Where we work with the communities neighboring, because we believe these are the first stakeholders. Before you leave Kampala to go and encroach on Mpambire, there must be a neighbor who will call at NFA, I've seen an encroacher here and he's not known to us. So we believe working with the community, under that approach we work with the communities closely to manage the forest reserve. You said, how sure are we that they are not degrading the forest? Yes, somebody can enter. We have people pick firewood free of charge. And it's allowed under that collaborative forestry and management approach. But we have days, we say every week you have one day to pick the firewood from the forest. You don't go with the panga, you don't go with anything, but you pick fallen dry woods. And you are supervised. Every Wednesday you find people entering the forest to pick firewood for the whole week. And it's free of charge. But there are these we also have what we call restoration programs. If we realize that there are species that are missing in Mpanga, that all have been cut down, we come and replace. So under that arrangement, we see how the communities can benefit, and we also benefit from them in terms of management. Okay,
so let's look at management now. as we're trying to sum up with the discussion here, management, what is the best way we're going to manage our forest cover, forest reserves in the next years? Because now we're looking at preservation and conservation of the environment, but then what is the best way to do so?
The best way to do so, from our side, there are certain things we have embarked on. One of them is restoration. Like I've said, the forest cover has been dwindling in Uganda. So we have looked at the areas where there used to be a forest, but it has been completely cut down. They had turned the land into gardens. We have negotiated with the people. To go out of the forest. We plant trees. We give them the opportunity to manage, and they are paid. Those areas where they have been degraded. So they manage with us, and that one has helped us to recover most of the forest land that had been degraded before. But also this commercial tree planting that I said, we know once there is a eucalyptus, for you to get charcoal, you will not go and cut a mahogany or a muvule somewhere. So we are investing in establishing plantations that can serve the demand, the demand for fuel, for forest wood in the country. So when we establish, we also have other programs that we are running for planting trees. We are working actually with also the corporate companies. We have a program called Corporate Tree Planting Program, where a corporate company, let's say Smart TV, says we want to give back to the community. As part of our CSR, we are going to plant 100 trees. Give us the area. We say, come, we have an area in Impanga, we have an area in Chewaga, in Entebbe, come and restore the forest. So we are doing restoration. We are also doing boundary opening. We've had challenges where people encroach on forest land, saying we didn't know that the forest stops somewhere here. So we are opening boundaries and planting permanent pillars that you can see from a distance and know that this is a forest reserve, and I don't need to go there. So those are some of the management styles that we are using now. And another thing is more of engagement with communities and district leaders. We've had a challenge with politicians, especially at the district level. When they look at these resources, they think these are resources for government. But as NFA, we are just employees of Ugandans. We are managing this resource on behalf of government for Ugandans. These are our own resources as individuals or as citizens. So we are engaging with the district leadership to educate them so that they can understand the importance of these trees. But I think you talked of climate change. In the last 2 years, 2020, 2021, even now 2022, people have seen the real climate change. Others have had prolonged droughts for 2 years in this country. So at least now there is need to know what can we do to reverse the challenges. Yes.
And looking ahead of the next few years, starting with this financial year, what projects or what programs does the National Forestry Association have for the people in the country?
Yeah, the National Forestry Authority is continuing with the program of Community Tree Planting Program, where we raise about 10 million trees annually and give them free of charge to the communities. Anyone is free to reach up to NFA and ask for the trees for free under Community Tree Planting Program. Across the country, we have 35 nurseries across the country where people can access the seedlings free of charge under that program. It's a Government of Uganda funded program. We have another program that is funded by the World Bank called the Investing in Forests and Protected Areas for Climate Smart Development. So we are going to invest in restoration, we are going to invest in ecotourism development, we are also going to invest in commercial forestry on private land under this program, and also management of national parks and game reserves under this program. And the communities will be able to have employment opportunities and also support to grow trees on their private land. It's going to cover mostly the Albertine Graben region and West Nile. We also have the Reforest project that is supported by United Nations High Commission for Refugees. We realized that the influx of refugees in the country were creating a lot of impact on our forest resources. So we engaged with the UNHCR, and now they are also supporting growing of trees on both community land and also government land in districts there are 18 districts that are hosting refugees in Uganda.
Okay.
So we are planting fruit trees in schools, we are establishing wood lots even within the settlements, the refugee settlements.
Mm-hmm.
So we are working with UNHCR to see that at least we have what these refugees need to cook food. They need firewood. So we are establishing wood lots on their land and also supporting the communities, because once they fail to access the fuel wood in the settlements, they come out to the communities. So we are also supporting the communities to establish wood lots on their private land, and also working with the districts to create more sensitization and understanding of the need of conserving the environment for the future generation.
All right. And the issues to do with climate change has as well been a very huge global concern. Matters to do with that, and I believe human activities, economic activities that are that have actually played a big role in making sure that we are in this situation. I believe we need to work upon how we respond, or the activities that we deal in, because at the end of the day it may affect us in the long run. So our discussion here has entirely been looking at some of these opportunities that arise from the forestry industry in the country, but in such situations, quite many of those, from adding value to the forest products, for example timber, handcrafts and all that, and then from the part of tourism and all the other potentials that are arising in that particular situation. So Juliet, in the last 2 minutes, can you give us your final remarks as we are summing up?
Thank you. My final remark to the viewers is nature, we need more of the nature than how it needs us.
Okay.
So, and we should take responsibility of what we are doing today, knowing that it will have an impact on our children and grandchildren, and even on us before actually we die. So if I don't do well now, in the next 10 years, I might have maybe to buy oxygen. We saw it during the COVID time here. Oxygen was very expensive. And we've been breathing this oxygen free of charge given by God. So if we completely destroy what God gave us, and tomorrow we don't have anything to give accountability to our children and grandchildren, okay, so they will live to curse our generation. So let's take responsibility to our environment. Uganda is ours. It's not going anywhere, and we are also not going anywhere. We shall be Ugandans. Let's take responsibility wherever you are. Do something that you can to conserve the environment. Okay. Don't look at government. Government is doing its part, but also do your part as an individual to conserve the environment.
All right. Before we actually sum up, by the way, if at all someone wants to do, or if at all someone wants to plant, they have private land, they want to plant their forest, what do they need to do, and where can they find National Forestry Authority, or is it right for them to just start up immediately?
No, like any other investment, actually, forestry is also an investment, okay, that you need technical guidance on how to invest and how to manage after. So at National Forestry Authority, we give that one free of charge. We are located at plot 10/20 Spring Road, Bugolobi. That's where our head offices are. But we also have regional offices in most of these big towns and the cities of late. We have in Masaka, we have in Arua, we have in Gulu, we have in Mbale, we have in Mbarara, Fort Potro. And most of these towns, like I said, we have 35 regional nurseries in the country. So, but they can also reach us on our website, www.nfa.go.ug. We are also on Twitter, National Forestry Authority, and also on Facebook. So all how they can reach us, and we help them. We are available to serve.
All right. So that means if at all I want to plant my own forest, I'm supposed to get some good regulations, right?
Yes, you're supposed to be guided, okay, on how to plant, and you know, land, like any other crop, we've seen trees that grow in the central cannot grow in northern Uganda.
Very true.
There are very good trees that grow in northern Uganda, but you can't take them to the west.
Okay.
So you need to be guided depending on the purpose. You know, sometimes you can say, I'm planting I want to produce, let me say, firewood. In the next 5 years, I want firewood. And then if you're not guided, you find you're planting a mahogany or a mvule that matures in over 20 years or 30 years. So you really need to be guided on the purpose and the right trees that you can plant, okay, on your private land.
Then how about someone who wants to export for example, timber, export wood and all that, is there anything they need to get from the National Forestry Authority?
Not really from National Forestry Authority, but we have other regulators. If you want to do exportation, I think the Ministry of Trade.
Okay.
The Ministry of Trade is supposed to give you the export license, and then you're also supposed to work with the Ministry of Water and Environment to work on these other internal documents that you need before exportation. However, there is a ban on exportation of raw timber. The products, we export the products of timber, but not timber itself.
Okay.
You can do chairs, furniture. You can do other products and sell the products outside the country for exportation, but not raw timber.
All right. And thank you very much, Juliet, for your time this morning. It's been a wonderful time and a wonderful discussion I've been having with Juliet Mubi from the National Forestry Authority. She is the Public Relations Officer. We've been discussing the opportunities from the forestry industry in Uganda, quite many, and one of the most important part is how we can as well address the matters to do with climate change. Key discussion in there. It is a global cause and a global call for almost every other person participating in economic activities that affect the climate or that also lead to environmental degradation. I'm Joram Paul Sonko, and you've definitely been a wonderful audience this morning from 7 a.m. where we've started. We've got 9 minutes to the top of the hour. Coming up after the show is Financial Markets with Anthony Sebale. Later on, we shall be having Yugi Tukole, Uganda Tukole with Fred Makuya. And now we'll be coming in with Scale Up. That is at 4 p.m. Then later on, we shall be having Jane Kolera at 6 p.m. with Hassan Nduga. I'll be back in the night with more from Business Today, giving you details of business reports that are happening and making headlines away from Uganda and from Uganda's perspective and the economic space. For now, Smart Means Business is off and we'll be returning tomorrow. Have a blessed day. Good morning.